Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining in on this live stream. I'd like to introduce myself first. I'm Callum McGill. I'm a product manager working at Arturia and working on the recent effects.
And I'm Lily. I'm the sound designer at Arturia. And I've worked on some of these effects, some of the presets and the factory banks, and we're going to go through some of these together today.
Yeah, so just to give you a quick overview of the FX Collection 4, which was released on Thursday. So we now have 30 really great quality effects, all sorts of range of effects from compressors to preamps to filters, delays, reverbs, everything. So in this one bundle, you get loads of different flavors and loads of different creative possibilities. I just want to tell you that, so it was released on Thursday, and then for the next 3 weeks, there's intro offers. So if you're within the Arturia ecosystem, you'll get a custom offer. If you're a new user, you'll get a discount if you'll purchase in the next couple of weeks. So just to show you on the website, you can get some really nice information here. We brought out 4 new effects with the collection, which we're going to go through in a second. And yeah, you can just go through, see what's in there. And I'm going to just pass on to Lily. Do you want to just explain what we're going to do today?
So in this live stream, we'll have 2 different parts that we're going to share. So there will be we'll be introducing the 4 new effects in FX Collection 4, so that were previously some that were released before and were not included in the collection, and then brand new ones as well, like the CLS that just came out. And then the second part, well, since there's 30 effects, it's a lot for just one live stream, or we'd be here for hours. So we're going to talk about 4, like we've picked, Callum picked 2, I picked 2 of our favorite effects in the collection that we'll also demo.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, just before we jump into Ableton and show you some of the effects, if the ones that we didn't cover, please go onto the website. Each one usually has like a nice interactive player. Like we have one for the Lexicon, have one for the Filter MS-20. You can play it, you can kind of feel the effect, see if you like it. So I just wanted to say that before we jump in.
Yeah, it's a good way to demo before buying
exactly.
it.
Yeah, there's loads of nice, Lily and all the sound design team create loads of great demo with the effects on and off, so you can really hear how it affects, the signal and the samples. Cool. So, as Lily said, we're going to introduce the first 4. We're going to sort of take it in turns and explaining and presenting the effects. So the first effect is Rotary CLS-22. So this is behind me. It's from a Dynacord. This came out in the 1980s. And the Dynacord was emulating the Leslie speaker. So the Leslie speaker was, I think it was created in the 40s, really came to prominence in the 60s, and it's that classic organ sound. I'll show you it in a minute. But yeah, typically you had a big drum speaker and a horn speaker. The signal would come in and be split. Each one would have like an outputting speaker, and it would spin and create this really nice sort of movement, tremolo, pitching effect. And then the Dynacord made it in the 1980s, a lot more portable, a lot more easy to maintain compared to this huge box. The Leslie speaker was like, I don't know, a couple of meters high. So yeah, it's a really interesting effect.
And so this is an emulation of an emulation.
An emulation of an emulation, yeah. And the reason why we chose this, because there's quite a lot of Leslie speakers out there, and this is really quite niche and like boutique. It has a really great flavor, really sort of simple to understand features, and we thought it really added something to the collection. The collection doesn't have this kind of nice modulation of the rotary sound. So yeah, let's just have a little playthrough so you can hear it. So I'm just going to bypass so we can just hear the clean organ sound. So just typical organ. And then we're going to go through the rotary at a slow speed. So if you've got your headphones on, you can really start hearing it.
Yeah, it's better with the headphones.
Yeah, it definitely helps. And then that classic fast rotary sound. So here you can, on the sort of the main page, you can change the balance, so push the bass or the treble, and change the stereo image. So to like mono, to really like stereo width, just push the bass, push the treble. We also added a nice valve amp to it because the original is this OP amp. I played both of them, but the OP amp had like a hard clip. So as soon as you went over, it's just like, and it sounds nice, but it's not really used as like an overdrive.
Yeah.
But when you have it with the valve, it adds this like warm harmonic sounds that you'd typically get with the Leslie.
So it's like less aggressive in a way?
Yeah, it's less aggressive. I guess you got like more control when you start like pushing it. There's like more of a usable range, I would say. So let's do some crunch. So you can get some nice crunchy sounds with this rotary effect. And then typical of Arturia, we've added some really nice advanced features. So here you can change the speed of the rotary and you get this really nice visualizer here. I'll play some audio in a minute, but just to quickly talk you through it. This can go into hertz or into like sync mode, which is like really handy if you want to have drums to the beat moving with the sound. And then something that we've added is this distance. So at 0, it's like the typical sound of the dynochord. But we wanted to like overemphasize it and like really start giving you like a binaural, really like moving around the head. So
increase the range.
Yeah, exactly. Increasing the range. So I'll just play it again. Move this down. And go full wet. So hopefully you can really hear it like moving around.
And I can feel it and see it as I follow like the 2 dots. Also.
Yeah, it's really nice to like visually hear it. I think it like emphasizes it to you, to hearing it. So then you can like drop the mix down and have the clean signal and then the wets sort of moving around. So it like works really well with vocals.
Don't say goodbye.
So this is like a clean vocal with a big mix all the way wet, sorry. And then together you get this sort of really nice vocal effect. And it's quite nice when it goes.
Don't say goodbye. Don't make me cry.
So yeah, it's quite like a bread and butter effect, I would say. It's like it has this one really like classic sound. We did go a bit extreme on some of the rates, so I'll just show you that now, and then we can jump onto the next effect, I think. Okay, I want to show you just drums really slow to show you the sort of like phasing effect. I feel like it has a really nice character onto the drums, having this sort of nice movement on the sound. And then I'll show you the more sort of extreme rates when we go in there.
It's funny because when you push it, it feels sometimes like a mix between a chorus or a phaser.
Yeah, when you get to those sort of
the parameters.
Yeah, when you get to those sort of speeds, it has this nice chorusy effect. And then almost it kind of goes into ring modulation, and it's quite fun like playing with it. When you have some high notes, you get this like ring mod flavor. So I guess the only other thing I wanted to talk about was you can do these different shapes. So let me just slow this down. So not only sort of the classic rotary sound, we can have this like figure of 8 to give different flavors of movement, and then this comb. So yes, just this is the latest one that we've added, and I think it really adds something to the collection, and it gives it another sort of dimension of flavors with the FX collection. So I'm going to pass on to Lily, and she can talk you through the MS-20 filter.
Sure. So Next, we have the filter MS-20. So this was really modeled on the really well-known Korg MS-20 filter. So it's known for this fiery distortion sound, and so that you see here the distortion and drive. What's really cool is that you can switch in the routing, the serial routing, the distortion and the filter. So you can place the filter before, and it does impact the sound, the color of the sound in the end. The second feature, apart from the drive, for me the key feature is the stereo knob, the stereo percentage that you can also modulate. So we'll hear that in a few presets. And then, yeah, I'll take you through some presets first.
I did it,
You did it.
I did it.
Yeah.
I was ready.
Cool. Cool. So let's listen to this bass bypass first. So simple bass line. And here's the classic parallel distortion. Oh, it's not looped. Let's do it again. Okay. And then you can add drive. And you can also cut, you can add a low cut or high cut with a dry wet.
Nice.
And as you can see here, you can modulate these with envelope amount, sequence amount, and function amount. And these are in the advanced panel, which I'll open up in just a second. We have, well, actually, I'll open it now. So just like in a lot of our effects, we, when there's an emulation, we like to add advanced features. And so there's a step sequencer, function generator, which you'll find also in some of the other creative effects. So this is what this sounds like. And a little more crazy. So
nice.
Yeah, this one is like heavily modulating the filter and the drive. Using the step sequencer.
The filter just sounds so good on this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds wild.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show you also, so the effect of the stereo knob, and you can do more subtle effects, like mapping it to the function generator. For example, here we have some keys. And well, here it's also
nice.
Slightly mapped to, yeah, the stereo. Yeah. So you see it's turning slightly to the right and to the left.
And we're doing a slight cutoff, right, on the low pass.
Yeah. Right here with the step sequencer.
Nice.
On the low pass, yeah. And maybe one more example. This is, you can create risers as well, so you can create functional presets using the envelopes. This is a simple lead. And then using the riser.
Nice.
So map to drive as well, and to the filter.
Great for a drop.
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah, really nice.
So I feel like these functions really add to the utilities of the distortion and the filter, and you can combine them in whichever way you want. Yeah.
Cool. So should we jump on to the next one?
Sure.
So the next, let me just, and I'm going to just drop down this tempo. So the next effect that we've added to the collection is the Rev LX24. We've got it down, well, I got the controller down here, which is based on the Lexicon 224. Lily and I both worked on this project. So yeah, typically it's another emulation, a digital emulation this time. Back in the 60s and the early sort of times of recordings, if you wanted reverb, you would need a room or put the signal through a plate or a spring. And you'd need like basically a big space. It was like a physical thing to add reverb to a track. And then in the late 70s, these geniuses built this digital reverb and managed to capture all the sort of essences and sounds of material or rooms into algorithms. And the lexicon was born out of that. So this is the controller. So you can like control your decay and your crossover. We can talk about that in a bit. And all the algorithms. And then the actual lexicon was this big box that we have downstairs.
Big and fragile.
Big and fragile, yeah. Yeah, lots to go wrong with old gear, for sure. Yeah, so I thought I just wanted to say, before jumping in and hearing some sounds, actually, before I say that, sorry, I get my mind straight. It was like a really huge sound of the 80s, and it was like basically in every studio, I would say. Really great on vocals, really great for that classic sort of like gated drum effect of the 80s.
In pop music.
Yeah, in pop music. I mean, it was used by virtually everyone. You'd see that controller on every desk, basically, for the last 20, 30 years. So it's really great for the team to have really captured the essence of it.
And there's algorithms too, right?
Yeah. So these are the 8 algorithms, like I said. So it emulates plates, it emulates halls, rooms. It's really fantastic. So Lily's going to go through some of the sounds. Before we did that, I just want to say, when we first released it, the interface was a bit wider, and we had these sort of 80s memorabilia in the corners. And some people, I don't know, weren't too happy with that. So we listened to your feedback, and we reduced the size for FX Collection 4. So we have this sort of smaller 3D size, and then we have this more 2D modern workflow approach to the lexicon. But yeah, let's have a listen, and you can have a little play.
Yeah. So as Callum said, we've recreated 8 of the algorithms of the 224. So what's really cool is that even without choosing a preset, you can choose an algorithm, and it has pre-mapped values that were in the original unit and that best serve that type of reverb.
Yeah.
So, but I'll show you like some examples of typical sounds in the factory library. So we got sound engineers to make presets for the LX24. So here's a piano, a dry piano, and a vocal hall. Oh, I think it was the BPM change that did that too.
Nice. It's so lush.
Yeah,
it sounds so good.
I love like you said, the color, the texture of this reverb.
Yeah, I feel like you can almost use it on any type of music, and anything just sounds better for it if you want some reverb.
Yeah. Here's a kalimba, dry. And let's try a preset with more diffusion, just a bit more distance, and I guess a bit more creative as well.
Nice.
And one of the key features also is the decay and the bass offset. So on the original unit, it was divided into 2 faders, but we summarized it into one where, if you look at it.
On the controller, it's much easier. If you want to add the decay for both, you can use your 2 fingers, but on a piece of software, it doesn't really work like that. So we kind of wanted to add this master decay that controlled both mid and bass, and then the bass would just be like an offset of...
Yeah, and so instead of being in seconds or milliseconds, it's a ratio. It's like a percentage. So if it's at 0, your whatever's above or below your crossover is the same decay value. And then if you make it lower, then your bass will be shorter, and vice versa. And
so it's like a really nice way of controlling the reverb, I guess, in your mix, to like really fine tune.
You can decide like which frequency bands have a longer or shorter decay.
I turned it down, but I'm gonna turn it back up.
Oh yeah,
because we need it.
Good call. Here is a trap drum loop. Normally I can hear the bass as well. Wait.
There we go.
Yeah, it was the octave, but that's better. Okay, and this is, so if we open up the advanced panel, which I find super beautiful as well. This is a visualizer for the main parameters, such as the crossover, the decay, and under here you have 3 different types of modulations. Ducker, tremolo, or gate. You can synchronize them or not, and you can choose the shape as well. And I'll show you what it sounds like on this drum loop. So you heard it without and with.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Yeah. And it's really useful. It can be useful as a sort of a side chain as well, to duck sounds in your mix. So
yeah, when I did the Lexicon live stream, I don't know, 5 weeks ago. Yeah, I did some really cool, like creative, like pumping reverb with some drums, and it's a really nice feature, I think, to have in there.
Yeah. And a last one. This is a Pigment hard bass. Why is it gliding?
Sounds good.
The pitch wheel is doing stuff. Anyway, and this is a creative preset of Bram, so like emulating that really wide cinematic sound. And it just has a huge atmosphere to it. So there's in the factory, so it's 100 presets. There's a really good mix of creative presets and functional ones. All the functional ones they're clearly named for like the source and the type of algorithm and what they're good for.
We can show you. So
like drum crunch room.
Exactly. And like vocals, just quickly get the vocal plate, backing vocals, drum crunch room, like you said. Yeah, it's really nice. And then you get to see the sort of the type of reverb or type of algorithm, that's being used. Yeah, it's really nice. I'm so happy to have it in the collection. It's definitely my go-to reverb for sure.
Same.
Okay, I guess the only other thing I wanted to mention, just because I don't think we covered it, was the converter types. I talked about it in the live stream as well, but so the Vintage 12 is this like 12-bit conversion rate, and it's like the sound of the Lexicon. 24 raises the noise floor, so it's not so, the 12 is a bit noisy, I guess, but these two have the same characters. But then we've added this modern mode, which like opens up the frequency bands. So at the moment it's like hard clipped at 10K with the two modes of the Lexicon. And then we've added this really nice.
The modern one really drastically changes the sound.
Yeah.
Compared to the two vintage, because like you said, it's more shiny, even more metallic, depending on your parameters.
Yeah.
In the high frequencies.
So it's really nice. You know, we always take these classic effects or instruments and think of ways to like improve them. And I feel like this one, just doing the software, adding the 2D view, the modulation, and these converter types have really improved the whole overall feeling of it. Great. So
one of the best.
Cold fire. So this is our attempt on distortion. We don't only just emulate things, but we want to push ourselves and create innovative, creative effects. And this is this is what we want to do for distortion. It's almost like a sort of Swiss Army knife, because you have so many different flavors and characters of distortion on these two sides, these like A and B sides. You have like bit crusher, you can have tape drive, valves, and all sorts of interesting flavors. And then, so there's two sort of things that are really important. It's like the routing of the distortion. So we can even go from like A to B. We can do parallel distortion. I'll play them so you can hear them, but A in the middle and B to the sides.
Yeah, there's like 6, no?
I think there's
six different
5.
ones. Oh yeah, 5, sorry.
You can swap them.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's have a little, I'll just go back to the start. Here is just like a really kind of straightforward preset just so you can hear some stuff, and I'm going to change some of the algorithms so you can algorithms and routing so you can just sort of hear the sound of it. So this is just a drum loop and then going through the cold fire. This is A going into B. Then we can have like the stereo, so A's on the left and B's on the right. A's going through the middle and B's to the side. You can like change the routing and how it's sort of balanced between the two. Yeah, some really interesting things. And we might want to change. Okay, well that didn't sound that different. So yeah, you can do all these really interesting types of flavor of distortion. And also, plus that, we have this like really great modulation system down the bottom. Here we have 6 modulation sources, and they can be LFOs, functions, followers, sequencers. And you can do some really interesting sound design with this. So I've chosen this nice breakbeat sound. So already it sounds pretty cool. And then adding it with the distortion cold fire.
It's really useful for adding a break,
Yeah,
or something like to create a some kind of difference in your drum loops or in a track.
for sure. It really something like presets like this really can add a whole different dimension and flavor to your sound, even if you had the dry wet. Kind of stuff. So yeah, this is 6 sequences going and changing the frequency and the bit depth and all the filters, and yeah, really interesting. So I'm just going to play a few more for here so you can get a flavor of it. There's a whole 45-minute, 50-minute live stream done earlier this year, so you can really like get into this effect if you want to check it out.
There's a big difference.
A huge difference. So this one's just another classic A going into B. Oh no, it's band split, sorry. But real nice crunchy bass. Seems a bit tame after that. So I'll just show you one more, and then we will go on to show you some other effects in the collection. So this one's quite subtle, but it just adds a nice flavor to your sound.
Yeah. And when it's used in a subtle way, it like I use it even on vocals.
Yeah,
it
sure.
adds presence, and it's a signal beefer, so it just makes everything come out. The harmonics.
Yeah, totally. Great. So yeah, these are the 4 new effects that we've added to the collection. I just wanted to pop up some of the. So as we said at the beginning, we're only going to show you 2 more of our favorites, but there's so many in there. So I just wanted to open up some of the interfaces just to show you, what else we have. We have some really nice preamps, like Neve preamps, some real vintage EQs in here. We've got some really classic compressors. So you can really find loads of different sounds and utilities. We've got some really cool, like the Dimension D.
Yeah, the Juno chorus.
I mean, there's some like seriously cool stuff in here. Got some plate reverbs, spring reverbs. Yeah. So there's lots of nice effects in there to find. So before we move on, I just wanted to give you sort of an update. We've not only added some new products, new effects into the collection, we've also done some updates. So I don't know if you saw, but each effect now has a really useful draggable corner.
Draggable corner. We've all been waiting for this.
Yeah, been waiting for a long time. So instead of doing your keyboard commands or coming in here.
I was just going all the time in the menu, resize in the menu.
Yeah, me too. So this is really nice. We've added accessibility for visually impaired people. So the same standard as V Collection. And we've also just worked on bug fixes and performances for all the plugins. So yeah, I feel like it's a really nice improvement to the whole collection as a whole. So we're going to go talk about some of our other favorites. So go for it.
So first we have Bus Force.
Yeah, I was just going to turn this up. I guess you want it up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I think even 130 would be better. So our Bus Force plugin was also inspired by the Overstayer, which is a distortion. What's a bus effect?
Yeah.
That adds color and a bit of saturation, right?
Yeah, exactly. I guess you'd typically...
It's made to use on a master.
Yeah, typically put it onto like your master chain to add sort of a bit of a boost to the whole track, but it works quite nice on inserts as well, and track inserts. So yeah, I guess we'll have a little listen and have a little play. Yeah.
So in the Bus Force here, it's really, I like to call it, it's more than just a compressor or saturator, because you have four main components and a unique signal path routing that you can design yourself. And so I like to call it what we call it like an enhancer, a sound enhancer, because you can use it in so many ways. For example, so here you have a clear view of the signal path, starting with your EQ, then the filter, then the compressor and saturator, and you can activate or deactivate or mute even entire chains. So you can really like set up your own signal path.
Totally.
You can make your own custom path.
And try things out, I guess. Turn that off. Does it sound better? Turn this on. Yeah.
Which is why in the factory bank, and I think, well, next time we'll probably make some more because there's many creative possibilities. And there are quite a lot of creative presets. There are some classic bus ones, but there are a lot of creative presets in our factory bank. So let's go through a few presets. Here's a simple drum and bass. Oh.
Too fast.
Yeah. We took stuff of all different BPMs for this project. That works. And this one, for example, focuses on the EQ and the presence that's added in the highs. So here on the hi-hats. So it's quite subtle, but it adds some
subtle, but it really
shininess.
does add to it. I feel. Yeah, it really makes it kick a bit harder. It's nice.
Here's an example. Well, we'll do it on the drums as well. Of a more classical compression called EDM Master Bus Punch. So that's without. And you can add more or less dryer and compression.
I feel like it gives the drums like a bit more room or something, and like
and more impact.
Yeah, more impact. It's cool.
Here we have vocals, because it might not be an obvious use of the Bus Force, but it can be extremely useful for any element that you want to make it stand out in your mix because it's sounding too muffled. Instead, it's just not standing out. It's kind of drowned out and everything. So I like to use it on vocals for that reason. Usually, like with all the whole track is really full on the frequency spectrum, and the vocals on top of that can sometimes be a bit drowned out. And here's an example. So these vocals are quite muffled, like not very high high frequencies.
Ooh, everything around me is cold.
And then adding the bus force.
Ooh, everything around me is cold. Growing colder. Ooh, follow you wherever you go.
Real nice pop sound.
Yeah. So I use this one a lot. This preset in particular for vocals. Let's see, this one only has the EQ and the saturation path. No compression needed. And maybe one more. So this is a song starter. It's a full mix. And just an example of a preset that pushes the EQ a little further and acts like an exciter.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually even typed as an exciter in
Sure.
in the factory. So it cuts the mids and compresses and boosts the
Sure.
the mid highs. And let's do one more. There's a really useful feature is the sidechain in the bus force. So in this case, it's on the drum loop that you just heard earlier. And so this would be like the more classical use of the plugin as a parallel compression or a sidechain. And so on the mix, it sounds like this. So
Nice.
it just adds warmth, presence, a punch.
Well, it really
enhances the sound.
Yeah, totally.
Mm.
It really makes your mix go from like mediocre to pro. Sounds really cool.
And there's just two last things that were added for the FX collection. The auto gain. So this is on the saturation section. So this, for instance, after you've applied your effects, if the output volume is much higher or much lower, it's going to compensate that. And so your signal will be output at around the same level as your original signal. And finally, something down here where you see render, it's the oversampling quality feature. So it's an algorithm that will, if you put it in studio mode, will greatly help your CPU to handle the plugin, right?
So I feel like when you're using it, I guess when you're like mixing and going through your workflow in studio mode, the CPU would be a bit less, a bit more usable. And then when you want to render out and bounce out your track, you'd put it into render and it'd be like the highest quality. So yeah, it's a really nice feature because this one was a little bit CPU heavy.
Yeah.
So it's good to have.
Cool. Yeah, that's it for Bus Force. What's next?
What's next? Tape Mellify. I brought the Mellotron out the back. So this came out a few years ago as a Christmas gift. We've had the Mellotron in the V Collection, I'm not sure what, V Collection 6 or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's basically just if I ever want to make a sort of lo-fi sound or a lo-fi mix, it's just such a great character and go-to. I feel like every feature is really well thought out, and it gives you that sort of tape, either like tape crunch or just like tape atmosphere with a nice pitchy, wobbly kind of sound. So let's hear it on some piano. I think it really works. Works really well with piano.
It's a nice track, I know.
Yeah, it sounds good. That one is really nice. So I've just muted it because the motor noise.
It's the mechanics, right?
Yeah, you can turn it all the way down, but you can hear on this, it's quite a noisy preset, but so that's just the piano on its own.
It takes you back a few decades.
Hey, what do you say?
It takes you back a few decades.
100%. Yeah, it sounds so good. So you can really emphasize these things, but it's quite nice just with dramatic, change the tone maybe. Just, I'll play just on a few sort of samples. It's kind of like the one sound. You don't really get too many different kind of flavors out of it, but it just adds character to so many things. So this one is just on some drums. And I chose it just to show you a bit more of like the beefy tape sound.
With the filtering.
And just like driving the tape. That sounds really like nice and crunchy. To me that sounds a bit lame. And now this one sounds really nice. Anyway, that's the kind of sounds I like. So it on some on like a nice gishang, a Chinese instrument. So as I said, it has kind of its flavor. You might like it, you might not, but I always have some really nice fun with it. I just wanted to show one more because we have this really cool, like it slows down the tape to stop, and you can like really add it to some nice breaks or add it to like a bridge before a chorus. It's pretty cool. So. So that's without the tape. So just a nice subtle colour. Try and catch it. Try one more time.
And you can choose the
you
length
can
of
choose
the bar.
the time, so you could do like a whole 8-bar slowdown.
Yeah.
Classic way to end a track.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, still going. Let's mute that. So yeah, really, really nice effect, and you know all these effects that are in the collection really just like complement each other. Each has their own flavor and character.
It's perfect for making lo-fi music.
This one is for sure.
Yep.
So yeah, now we're going to talk about fragments.
Yeah. So this is my favorite one of the effects collection. Still is, since it came out, I guess last year. It's been a year.
Yeah.
About a year.
I think it came out last
spring.
October. Oh, was it last spring?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Getting my things crossed.
And so fragments is our original granular effect. So a granular synthesis is basically taking a signal or sample and taking out, to put it simply, like a slicing
exactly.
parts of that sound into grains, what we call it. They're like parts, and then redistributing them. And you decide how they're redistributed in terms of density, so like frequency, the size of the grains taken out, and you can also pitch them. And so we had, I think we had 120 presets, and for FX Collection 4, we've added 40 new presets. And we wanted to, listening to the other presets, add some more glitchy and experimental ones, because we have quite a lot of lush
which sound great.
ones. Yeah, they're still in the top ones.
Yeah.
We wanted to see, and that's thanks to also the addition in the advanced panel. So this also came with around the same time as Coldfire, was the idea of also adding more options for the sequence
because beforehand it was like hardwired function sequencer.
You couldn't choose. Now you can put like only step sequencers, and so you have like
you have functions,
5
envelopes.
slots. You have 5 modulator slots.
Yeah, 5 slots.
Yeah. That's
So
like
it
more
really,
than
like,
enough.
dramatically changes the sound design, right? Because you have so
Yeah.
many more possibilities of how to move these knobs.
So I thought we could listen to a few of the presets, the new presets in the feature list. So this one, this is a more classic granular effect with the scattered grains. That's the dry sound. Just for information.
Yeah, we need the reference.
Yeah.
'cause it adds a lot.
And so in fragments, you have you can choose what you assign. You have an intensity macro and effects macro with 2 effect slots.
And it's playing them forwards and backwards, or is that what it sounds like?
Here,
Yeah.
you can choose that in the grain capture, and also it's in the advanced panel. The grain direction, you
Sure.
can choose for it to be bidirectional, forward or backward, and a ratio of both. So you can create reverse grain sounds.
That's cool. Yeah, it's really nice.
Here's some more glitchy ones. But still quite clean because it's on a grid. It's synchronized to the BPM. Same with this one. I like this one a lot. This one is interesting, unexpected, because it sounds like a chorus, like a very over the top chorus.
Yeah.
Pitch bend. So lots of effects and just a slight random on the pitch. Here's another one. This one is shimmer swirled, and it's thanks to the reverb going in wet only. So there's the routing in the effects where you can choose dry wet. Dry wet means the effect is affecting the dry signal and the grains. And wet only,
It's just the grains.
The effects are only affecting the grains. The dry signal stays separate. And one last one, I wanted to show this on strings. So these are augmented strings. The pitch bend is
It's a bit glitchy.
it's glitchy, yeah. So augmented strings sounds great on its own as well, but
Augmented strings is amazing.
yeah. But this is a very cinematic type of preset. It uses the pan with distance for like a slow movement left to right and back, and lots of modulation on the density and size. And it almost sounds like wind in the background. That's from all the grains being shifted in different directions.
Sounds really nice. And we were talking about this earlier because we used the same kind of idea in the Rotary visualizer as the one in Fragments. So
it's the same little ping pong balls.
Yeah. And I quite like the idea of, like, we use this modulation system in the Cold Fire. I'm trying to like bring some of the effects like closer together in nice and interesting ways.
Because from a perspective of someone using these, or like us even, you always find common points, and then you're familiar with them already.
Totally. So we're going to show you one more, and then hopefully, I probably should have said at the beginning, but we're going to do a Q&A afterwards. So if you're still watching and you want your questions answered, we'll tackle them at the end. So the last one I wanted to show was the tape delay. So this is like I think it was made in the 70s by Roland, and had like a physical tape. I was thinking maybe I should have chosen a different one because we did Mellify and that's a tape. But anyway, I guess I just like that sort of tape sound. There's nothing wrong with that. And yeah, you'd like record onto the tape, then you'd have 3 playheads. So you'd record it, then you'd like da 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 and you start getting this really cool physical delay sound, plus all the sort of like wobble and pitch drift that we get, similar to the tape melify. So I'm just going to take down the BPM and just show you it and just play with some of the features, show you the playheads in action. But again, it's just like a real vintage character, add a lot of tone and character to your sounds. So bypass. So just a nice piano chords, but if you want to add some movement and delay to that, it sounds like this. Really nice. So, and you can change the playheads. So let's try and it's like da-da, or go into the middle one. You can get all these different rhythms of delay.
Yeah.
Really fun to play. Just trying your sound, try it through different of these different playheads.
And it sounds really smooth.
Huh?
The changes sound smooth, I find.
Yeah, really nice. So it's really great to add sort of rhythm to simple chord progressions. It sounds really cool for sort of like dubby drums. So I chose this other one. So clean. So it doesn't sound that dubby to me, but just a nice drum loop with some nice vinyl effect, and then it going through the delay tape. Get that nice sound. And down here you can change your input, you can change a bit of flutter, like we did in the tape melify, and then you could put, right now there's the LFO on the stereo, but we could put LFO on, I don't know, on the rates, and have some really weird stuff going on. So yeah, have lots of fun with that. I wanted to just show one more preset, and then I guess we could go into the Q&A. So the last one was this like classic CS80 paddy sound. Because if you change the time between the playheads, you can kind of get this like chorusy, strange effect. So this is what this is showing off. Bit more reverb. Very clean.
Yeah, it's like a vibrato.
Huh?
It's like a vibrato.
Yeah. Cool. So, yeah, that was a nice overview of the collection. That was a lot of fun. I guess we'll go on to the Q&A. So let me just open up the questions. Just 2 questions. Easy.
For now.
For now. For now. So I'll just read out the questions and either Lily and I will answer them. Is there a way to set a default preset for the plugins? Most times I want to start from a clean setting and it takes additional steps to set the plugin to default preset every time. There's no way of like always setting it as the opening time.
Normally, if I'm not mistaken, you can overwrite the default preset. You can make your settings on it and save.
No, but I think they want to open it every time they open the plugin. They want just a clean slate.
To set a default preset for the plugins. instead of like the first one.
Yeah, instead of like the ones we've chosen.
Mm.
I don't think that is the option. I mean, yeah, all you have to do is...
Unless you can, you can if you're if you save a session, you know, because if you save a session with an instance of the effect or VST, and you have the preset you want, so the default you want in there, then you save that session. If you always open the same session as a template, you'll always have that
that's true.
preset.
That's a workaround.
That's a workaround, yeah.
Yeah. Or just go into the quick browser. 2 clicks.
Yeah.
But we could think about that. We always want to show off when someone opens the plugin our favorite sounds or like what this plugin is, the essence of it. So that's what we try and do. Okay, so we got a question about the bus force. Do you want to read it out?
The bus force has such a round saturation. Is there oversampling though? Are these? The 3 questions are from the same people? No.
Yeah, I think this is from the same people.
Okay.
Has variable oversampling.
Has variable oversampling been added to bus force as part of an update as well as an automatic gain compensation? And what about other effects in the collection? So the first one is the oversampling has been added.
Oversampling has been added.
FX collection 4.
That's the studio and the render.
Yeah, that we showed.
We just haven't called it oversampling. It's just that's how you'd use it basically.
Yeah.
And it has been added to one more product, which is the Spring Reverb, because that was quite CPU intensive. So we have again the same studio and render oversampling. Yeah. Yeah. The gain compensation is just bus force.
Yeah. It's called output. What was it again? Output gain. Auto gain.
But you know, let us know in the comments if you want. Do you want that oversampling addition feature on every effects?
Yeah.
Because you know, it depends on your computer. If you have an M1, these plugins run fine. If you have a 10-year-old computer, sometimes they can't. So
same with automatic gain compensation. If it's needed elsewhere, we could consider adding it on other effects.
So yeah, please either write into the comments here or contact support, and it always gets fed to us, so we can always look out for these feature requests. I just bought and installed FX Collection 4. Lack of space on my SSD. Shall I uninstall FX3?
Well, it updates everything that was pre-existing, and it just adds the new stuff.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So
it overrides everything that you had, and then it's just 4 new.
Yeah, there's just 4 new ones that don't take up that much space. Huh?
Yeah, I would guess a gigabyte.
Maybe remove other stuff from your computer, from your SSD.
Yeah, yeah. Uninstalling FX Collection 3 won't do anything.
It won't. No.
So yeah, either remove other stuff or get a hard drive, external hard drive. Yeah, sorry. Will the new rotary effect be incorporated into B3V? Yeah, so the PM for that is called Pierre, and we've talked about it. I think he would like to. I feel like it's a nicer flavor than what we have in the B3 at the moment.
Yeah.
And they should probably be paired. I don't know how long the scope would be to do that, but it's definitely in conversation. So potentially maybe for the next V collection or for an update later in the product's life cycle, we could definitely think about it.
Are there any plans for an effect rack to stack plugins similar to SoundToy's effect rack?
Okay, I guess I should take over that.
There's been discussions about it for sure.
Yeah, we've been thinking about it. I feel like there is an idea of doing that. It'll be really nice to make chains of, like a vocal train using our preamps and a compressor, maybe a bit of distortion as like a preset for chains, allowing you to put 4 of our plugins into your own chains and change the routing for that. It's something that we've been thinking about quite a while. It's quite a big project.
It is.
It's also the CPU thing as well, because some of our it needs to run really smoothly for you. But yeah, thanks for bringing it up, because it's something that we're thinking about and would potentially quite like to do it in the future.
Well, it's good to know if people are requesting it.
For sure. You can answer
Clean
that one.
preset for fragments. So, as in a preset that is more simple, I guess what you're saying.
Or the dry wet thing.
It would be good to define what clean is.
Yeah. But you can have
maybe for the first preset, you know,
Mm.
because the first preset is very very dense. It's an atmospheric pad maker.
I mean,
Sweep.
removing all effects and not having any pitch deviation.
Yeah.
It's a pretty clean stutter sound.
If you just turn down the effects macro, even turn off, bypass the effects, and remove the random, so everything that's like in yellow around the knobs, and even turn off the modulators, it's can get quite simple.
And I guess that's what the default preset's like, right?
Yeah. The default preset was actually simplified.
Okay.
For FX Collection 4.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Because there were comments about it that it could be more simple. Some of the settings could be more default.
Sure. Well, yeah, maybe try the
update.
But yeah, turning everything off basically.
Yeah.
With some grain would have quite a clean sound. Oh, on the tape Malify plugin, is there a startup sound similar to the shutdown sound?
No.
No, I don't think so.
No, but it was talked about.
Was it?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you could record it, slow down, and reverse it.
Yeah.
Could be quite cool, but then it would be like it would sound in reverse, but then reverse that. No, there isn't.
Mm-mm.
But again, request the feature or write into the comments and we'll look at it. It could be nice. I don't see why we wouldn't have it. Could be a nice feature. So thanks for suggesting it. Feature request: auto gain and multi-side chain. Would need to know
On which effects?
Yeah.
Because we have it in the bus force now. Multi-side chain, so adding several sources as a side chain. So
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess so.
I'm not familiar with multi-side chain.
Yeah, I go for a kick drum basically.
Yeah.
Sorry, we need a bit more information on that one. Do you want to read it out?
Are there any delta features solo the difference for any clippers? Delta is super helpful to hear what it's adding. Like AB.
Yeah, we have added AB.
Yeah.
Was that in FX?
We have that on some of the effects, no, like the compressors.
All of them, I think.
All of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Not on fragments.
No.
No.
Yeah. I thought it was on. Most
I think
of
on
them.
the functional ones, like
Okay. So there you can, basically A/B different presets or different settings.
Yep.
And hear the subtle difference of the two presets. It's a nice way of these. So I guess that's the delta feature. Will there be V Collection 10 coming soon? So I'm also a product manager for the V Collection with this guy called Edward. Is it coming soon? Yeah, we are working on it at the moment. Hopefully we can release something potentially at the end of this year is the plan. But yeah, there's definitely a new V Collection 10 coming soon with lots of new goodies. And if you like the V Collection, maybe something interesting is going to happen in the next few weeks that I think you'll be really interested in.
The V Collection 10 will be a big celebration. 10 years.
Yeah.
10 V Collection.
10 V Collections, yeah. I know, it's crazy. It's like 15 years in the making.
Yeah, 15 years.
So yeah, big celebration. Big milestone.
Are there any plans for integrating Arturia effects within Analog Lab standalone? So without a DAW. Well, there are Arturia effects in Analog Lab standalone in the studio window.
We have the flanger.
You have the phaser, the flanger. You have the digital reverb, analog chorus, regular chorus.
Juno chorus?
No,
okay.
I don't think so. Stereo pan. distortion, like overdrive with different forms of distortion.
We tried to
There's
put
many.
in some are a bit, I guess, CPU heavy, or we already have an effect that does it quite well in Analog Lab. But yeah, we integrate, I'd say like half of them are probably in there.
Yeah. There's like the wah, also the wah pedal, the that amp, twin amp as well.
But that's not really the effects.
Yeah. But it's in the effects pedals, in the studio window. Like you have your A, B, and then your delay and reverb, and you can route them however you want in Analog Lab between part 1 and 2. But yeah, like there is the question of CPU.
Question of CPU and the need of it, I guess. Because I feel like the effects in Analog Lab are pretty good. But yeah, write down what you want in there. What's missing? What would you like from effects collection to be in Analog Lab? Do you want like a granular thing in there? It might be a bit hard to do, but if a lot of people are asking for it, we'll definitely try to do it. Will you guys ever release a full-size Freak and bags? I really want to have bags.
I saw Freak and bags together, like Freak and bags. Like what is?
I think a full-size Freak, people have been asking for it. I don't see why we wouldn't make it. I'm not the Freak guy.
You're not the Freak guy.
Sebastian's the Freak guy. He's the biggest Freak. But yeah, I think there's talk about it. I think it'd be really nice to have, some full-size keys with that engine because it sounds so fantastic. And bags, I don't know what's happening with the bags. I think it'd be really cool to have MIDI, like for all our labs, all the key labs to have their own bags.
Even like the Keystep 37, because I have that, and
be nice.
It's like slightly too big for a backpack, It's just that extra, there's like an extra few centimeters where it's a bit too bulky for a backpack, so a bag would be cool.
Definitely. I'll talk to, so the bags I guess would be more like the Sky Florian. So I'll talk to him and see if we can, I think there's talk about it, so just keep pushing for it.
Yeah. Well, lots of questions.
Yeah, lots of questions. Compared to the Sound Toys bundle, do I still need this? I own too many plugins already.
Yes, you need this.
Yeah, next question. I mean, the Sound Toys is really good. I feel their bundles is quite a bit smaller than ours.
I don't know how many.
I think I have one of the bundles. I think it might be 12 or 14. I mean,
I don't think you can compare, really.
Yeah, I guess not. I guess like we're working on these emulations, so like really trying to recreate like the Lexicon or the Core Gamers 20 or Dynacord or these flanges. I feel like that's one of our real expertise, and I guess Sound Toys is a little bit like that, especially with their interfaces, but they're not like totally like based on emulations, I guess. But then we're adding these really like fragments and Coldfire and some other things that we're working on in the background. Like these are really special.
Yeah, they're original creations.
Yeah,
also.
special effects that I feel like we're really like pushing the boundary in that kind of area. I understand. Yeah, there's lots of plugins, and you only need your sort of go-tos, but I feel like there's lots of value to be had here.
Yeah.
I love them. I have both. I know I work for Arturia, but I use Effects Collection more than Sound Toys now. You can answer that.
Yes, they are. Normally for...
You have to read it out.
FX, yeah. Is the FX Collection for NKS ready? So we do our best every time there's a release to have everything NKS ready. So meaning that the presets in native instruments are mapped, tagged, and have previews. So there's no previews for effects, but they're all tagged for Machina or Complete Control, and there are the mappings also for your controller, for your native instruments controller. So yeah, like the latest ones, the CLS was done. That was the last one that was NKS ready.
Yep.
It was made NKS ready. So yes, the answer is yes. I noticed there's no analyzers or mixing plugins. Are there any plans to make something like a spectrum analyzer? I don't think we've really talked about it.
Like isotopes kind of stuff.
Yeah, like the Spectrum in Ableton, you know, just something that helps you analyze all the frequencies.
Okay, sure. No, there's been talks about doing potentially like a new type, our approach on like an EQ, which is kind of in between a spectrum analyzer and EQing. But no, there's not like this sort of analyzer idea.
Like a measuring tool, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No. But again, request it. If lots of people are requesting it, we'll definitely look into it.
What's with the Analog Lab screen and the new trailer? Am I the only one who noticed? We got caught.
Yeah, I noticed it as well. Maybe there's something cool that's going to happen with Analog soon.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. Not AB Delta. Let's. Okay, so the previous question was, do we have? What was the previous?
Lets you hear what's happening in real time, but
the
that
Delta
always
feature.
does, no? I don't know.
Not AB Delta that lets you hear what's happening in real time.
I'm not sure really how to answer that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The previous question.
There was a few. Yeah, that was that one.
Yeah, there are no any Delta features solo the difference for any clippers. I don't know. Maybe there's something that we don't understand with the Delta.
Yeah, but he says not Delta, not AB. No.
Let's see here what's happening in real time.
I mean, it's always doing that. You can
so like
bypass
the
it off.
maybe he's talking about like the clean and wet, the dry and wet. Sorry.
Oh, like to hear wet only?
To hear wet only and to hear dry only, like soloing the wet. Maybe. I mean, I just go full wet, full dry.
Yeah, or you can put it on the
find it in the middle.
A send and then
put it on the
listen only
send.
to the send.
Yeah. But no, we don't have like that feature in the products.
Yeah.
I'm moving to Grenoble in 2025. What should I work on to be hired by Arturia? I don't know what you work on.
First of all, what job would you?
There's lots. I mean, we're constantly hiring people. Lily's a sound designer. I'm a product manager. We have lots of marketing.
Lots of engineers. Lots of engineers. So software
firmware, developers, hardware developers, DSP, quality assurance.
Yeah. The best thing is to apply on the website, because you can apply. It's called a open candidature, open job application. So like even if there's no opening for what your career path is, that way the HR has your file.
Yeah.
And it's a good
But I guess what you should be working on is, if you're into software, making software tools in Max MSP, or trying to do some coding, could be quite cool.
Mm-hmm.
Make some sounds, preset
learn
design.
all the synths by heart. all 30 something, 32.
Yeah. Well.
Could you shed some light on the design process behind the creation of creative effects called fire fragments?
Maybe we should do a live stream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like the design process. Neither of us worked on these products.
Oh yeah, it was Francois.
Specifically,
who
Francois
created. It's like the brainchild of Francois Fragments.
But yeah, it was like, we want to make this kind of instrument or this kind of effect. What does this effect make me feel? And then you work with like a designer, and they think of sort of, first of all, you sort of make some wireframes. How do we want to use this thing? What do we need? And then you sort of think of the design elements.
Mm.
What does this sound like to me? What's evocative about the sound? Mm-hmm. So like for fragments, I guess granular seems a little bit, to me, like it can be a little bit cold. It's not very lush. And I feel like that's reflected in the video, the marketing video, which is like this ice tunnel, and the effects like this bluey green icy thing. And Coldfire This is
It's
quite
a mix
similar.
of both.
It is a bit of a mix of both, and it's like the wire frame, like the structure is quite similar, but then you get the nice sort of big knobs for the different algorithms and stuff.
Mm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's always like an interaction between the product manager, product designer, and then the teams involved, like the software and digital signal processing team, to see like to come up with an inspiration or an idea, and then see whether or not it's possible, or to what extent it's possible, and work within those limitations or those possibilities.
Yeah. But yeah, it'd be nice to maybe talk about all the EFX and distortions and have like its own live stream again, because we're really proud of these effects. Any discussions on drum machine emulator, tape machine emulation? Any hint of future plugins? Yeah, I mean, we can't give too much away. I think tape, a really nice tape emulation would be cool, and not because the tape modifier is very cool, but it's like in your face. So it'd be cool to make a studio 2-inch tape machine sound.
Something that would be thought of as something you put on your master as well.
Mm.
Like to
Yeah.